Do you cook with onions almost every day? Most people do, and yet most people are unknowingly wasting the most powerful nutrients in every single onion they cook. The difference between unlocking those nutrients and leaving them locked inside the cell wall comes down to one small decision you make in the first 30 seconds of cooking. It is about when you add the salt. Today I am going to explain the science behind why adding salt to onions at the beginning of cooking, before they soften, triggers a chain reaction that can dramatically increase how much quercetin and sulfur compounds actually reach your bloodstream. And at the end, I will give you the complete golden recipe you can use starting tonight. First, let us understand why onions deserve their reputation as one of the most potent health vegetables available anywhere. Inside every onion are two categories of extraordinary compounds. The first is quercetin, a flavonoid polyphenol that sits at the center of some of the most compelling nutrition research today. A meta-analysis published in a leading cardiovascular journal confirmed that quercetin supplementation significantly reduces both total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol levels. A separate clinical trial using quercetin-rich onion skin extract at 162 mg per day showed statistically significant reductions in blood pressure in hypertensive patients. One long-term study found that people who consumed more than half an onion daily saw their HDL, the protective good cholesterol, increase by 30%. Quercetin also suppresses the chronic inflammation that underlies heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and cognitive decline. Preclinical studies have repeatedly shown that onion extracts inhibit the proliferation of multiple types of cancer cells. The antioxidant capacity of quercetin is exceptional, neutralizing free radicals that damage cells and accelerate aging. The second category is sulfur compounds. These are the chemicals that make your eyes water when you cut an onion. And they are doing far more than irritating your tear ducts. Sulfur compounds inhibit platelet aggregation, preventing blood from clotting abnormally. They dilate blood vessels and actively support metabolic function. They work as natural blood thinners, protecting against the sticky blood that leads to heart attacks and stroke. But here is the problem that almost no one talks about. These compounds are locked inside the cell walls of the onion. They cannot be absorbed by your intestines until those cell walls break open. The question is how effectively you break them open before the food reaches your digestive tract. And this is exactly where the timing of salt becomes everything. When salt, or sodium chloride, is added to onion at the start of cooking, it triggers osmosis immediately. The salt creates a higher concentration environment outside the onion cells than inside them. In response, water molecules inside the cells begin moving outward through the cell membrane to equalize the concentration difference. This outward movement of water softens and ruptures the cell walls rapidly. The moment those cell walls rupture, the quercetin and sulfur compounds trapped inside are released into the surrounding cooking environment. When heat is then applied to tissue that has already been opened this way, the extraction efficiency of phenolic compounds increases dramatically. The salt opens the cell door first. The heat then pushes those compounds out completely. By contrast, when you add salt at the end of cooking, or skip it entirely at the start, the cell walls remain largely intact through most of the cooking process. Heat alone does soften onion tissue, but without osmotic force acting simultaneously, the degree and speed of cell wall rupture is far more limited. A significant portion of the quercetin remains bound inside cells that never fully opened, and it passes through your body without being absorbed. This is not theoretical. Research published in a peer-reviewed food science journal confirmed that frying, grilling, and baking all increased the total phenolic compound content of onions compared to raw onion, precisely because cooking ruptures cell walls and releases fiber-bound phenolics. The study found that frying and grilling specifically raised quercetin derivative concentrations above raw onion levels. The mechanism is cell wall destruction. Salt accelerates and deepens that destruction from the very first moment. There is one more layer to this. Quercetin has partial fat-soluble properties, which means cooking onions in oil significantly improves the bioavailability of quercetin during digestion. The oil surrounds quercetin molecules, and escorts them through the intestinal wall into the bloodstream. Olive oil and perilla oil are the best choices for this purpose. So the complete sequence is clear salt opens the cells first. Oil improves absorption, and heat extracts and concentrates the compounds. When all three work together, a single onion becomes nutritionally explosive. Here is the golden recipe. Cut the onion perpendicular to the grain, meaning against the direction of the fibers. This maximizes cell disruption from the start. After cutting, let the onion sit exposed to air for 15 to 30 minutes. This contact with oxygen converts the sulfur compounds into forms that are more beneficial to the body. Specifically forms that inhibit blood clot formation and support metabolism. Heat your pan to medium heat and add 1 teaspoon of olive oil or perilla oil. Place the onion in the pan and immediately sprinkle a very small pinch of salt, less than half a gram, evenly over the surface. Within 2 to 3 minutes, you will see moisture appearing on the onion surface. That visible moisture is osmosis in action. Continue stirring gently and cook for 5 to 7 minutes total until the onion turns translucent and golden. Do not overcook. Research shows that prolonged high heat degrades sulfur compound activity. So 5 to 7 minutes at medium heat is the optimal window. A key warning here: adding salt first does not mean adding more salt. The osmotic effect that opens cells is triggered by even a very small amount. Using excessive salt to cook your onions would raise your sodium intake and directly counteract the blood pressure benefits that quercetin provides. Small amount first, every time. Do not throw away the onion skins. Studies confirm that onion skins contain up to 60 times more quercetin than the flesh. Simmer clean dry skins in 2 liters of water for 15 minutes. Research has shown that significant amounts of quercetin derivatives transfer from onion skins into water during the first 15 minutes of heating. Use this liquid as a base for soups, for cooking rice, or simply drink it as a tea. 1 cup of onion skin broth daily adds a substantial quercetin dose to your routine with 0 extra effort. For your 7-day practice plan, spend the first 2 days adjusting your cutting technique to perpendicular slicing and building in the 15-minute air exposure habit. Days 3 and 4, apply the salt first method and observe how much faster the onion softens and how much sweeter it tastes. The sweetness intensifies because sulfur compounds break down into propylmercaptan during cooking, a compound 50 to 70 times sweeter than sugar. Days 5 through 7, combine all elements: perpendicular cut, air exposure, salt first, oil cooking, and onion skin broth. Important notes for safety and individual variation. If you have high blood pressure, kidney disease, or are on a sodium-restricted diet, the salt-first technique still applies. But use the absolute minimum amount. Those with irritable bowel syndrome may find raw onions more irritating than cooked, in which case the fully sautéed preparation is the better choice. Anyone on blood thinners should be aware that onion sulfur compounds can have mild anticoagulant properties, and consult their physician about total intake. 1 small pinch of salt, added first. That is the difference between eating an onion and fully unlocking everything an onion was built to give you. If this video was useful, please subscribe and share it with someone who cooks every day. Next time we will cover why you must wait 10 minutes after crushing garlic before applying heat, and the science behind what happens when you skip that step. See you then.